Hey everybody, this is Cherri Gregg and this is Real Talk with Cherri. I hope all is well. I want to let you guys know that I'm really excited about tonight's show. We have some amazing guests lined up. I want to give everybody a chance to get in the live. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Cherri Gregg again, and Real Talk is my personal community give back during these trying times. I know a lot of us have been dealing with so much over the past couple of weeks. We've seen protests, we've seen all sorts of destruction, but people are coming together. Shout out to all the people who have been marching and protesting, demanding justice in the wake of the death of George Floyd. It has been a traumatic time for all of us, but we're going to make it through. And you heard this week from lawmakers who have proposed and got changes and police reforms adopted both at the state level and at the city level. And we see lots of changes happening with federal government as well. So all of this could possibly turn out to be good. So I'm really excited about that. And let me just shout out a few people who are jumping into the live. Please tag a friend and share this video. We have some really amazing guests. I can't wait till you guys hear who we have. First up, we're going to be talking to Dr. Ala Stanford. I'm really excited to have her here. I met her a couple of months ago now, as she was on the front lines of the COVID-19 crisis, had pulled together a number of her friends and got to work, okay? People were calling her the Harriet Tubman of COVID-19 because she was leading us all to freedom and leading us all to safety and public health. And we commend her for that. And so let me just say hello to some of the people who are in the live. Hi. My mom is in here. Kenny, Shara Day, Kamal. Nice to see you. Thank you guys. Again, share this video, tag a friend. And then at the 8:35, for the second half hour, we're going to be talking to Terrence Lewis. He is an exoneree, just celebrated his 1 year anniversary of being free. So I want to just pull this up. Y'all probably seen this image, right? All around Dr. Ala Stanford, been on the front lines, geared up, doing the work. She is a pediatric surgeon. So when her OR closed, right, because of COVID-19, she was sitting at home, seeing all the crazy that was happening, and decided to get her friends together and get to work. And the work that they have done is amazing. In just a short period of time, they joined up with Black churches, and they did tested thousands and thousands of African Americans and people in high-risk communities. And I'm so excited to have Dr. Ala Stanford here. Welcome to Real Talk with Cherri. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
I am so excited to have you here because, I mean, I got to see you at work. First of all, how are you doing? How are you holding up?
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a little tired. My voice is gone from talking all day, talking to people getting tested, to my staff, you know, a lot of times then my kids. So, I mean, I'm tired, tired, but refueled at the same time.
Yeah. And this was a big, and I know you're tired because you've been working. So you've been everybody at home playing, games and doing whatever during the COVID-19 because they couldn't work. But you were working the entire time and your whole team.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's a labor of love. And it was so necessary. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting there like everybody, I was enjoying staying in my pajamas all day. I was enjoying being with my husband, being with my kids, walking the dog. Not having to go to work. And then when you started seeing the images, particularly out of New York, with refrigerator trucks and all these Black bodies and people in line and talk about who was going to get the ventilator, who wasn't. And then the Tribune put out that report saying that African Americans were being diagnosed and dying more than any other. I was like, how can I help? What can we do? as citizens, like we're doctors, how can we help? And it wasn't at the time, there was not a lot going on that the city was doing. And so I needed to build it. And I basically went in my phone and reached out to all the docs and nurses. And I said, I need you. And, you know, we had a Zoom call with like 30 health professionals. And the next day we were out there. And as they say, the rest is history.
Yeah, I read recently that you guys have tested about 5,000 people.
Yeah, now we're approaching 6,000. You know, whenever we go to Enon, it pushes us over like to the next 500. So we're now approaching 6,000 people. And just to put it in perspective, you know, the city, one of my statistician friends who's very smart said to me, Ayla, you realize you're testing at a rate that's 9 times higher than the city and the county, because there were 47 testing sites in Philadelphia over 3 months or 90 days. They've tested 111,000 people. That's at a rate of about 26 people per day, 26. And literally 26 testing sites, we've tested over 200 people on average per site. And that's 9 times higher than everyone else. So we've been, you know, putting in the work, and because we wanted to, not that we were getting paid to do it or anything. Everybody was out there because it needed to happen, and we had the skill set and the resources to do it.
And I gotta say, this week, you know, was a big win for the consortium. You guys got a city contract. Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a long time coming. A long time.
I was like, I did a little dance for you. When we talked about it in the newsroom before the announcement came, and I was like, I just did.
No, and it felt like a win, not just for us, but for everybody, you know, in the city, and especially the African American community. Because truthfully, if they had not come out, if they didn't trust us, if they didn't tell a friend and tell everybody in their congregation, then the city wouldn't have had any numbers to really look at. So, you know, I said this at the press conference Tuesday, but thank you, Black Philadelphians, for showing up and showing out, as we like to say. You know, 96% of the people we tested were African American, and we were right in the community. So people rode their bike, they came off their front porch, they went home and told a friend. And if they missed us one day, then we would get calls, well, where are you going to be the next day? Where are you going to be the next day? And it just spread like things spread in any community, but particularly the Black community. So thank you for trusting us with your personal information, with us doing a somewhat invasive procedure to get you diagnosed. And so it means a lot. It really does.
And it sort of spread, like it started real grassroots. It spread like wildfire. And what was amazing is people would donate $5. I went on the list. Any kind of money they could give you, they were giving you money.
Let me tell you, people brought us Wawa gift cards in envelopes that said, God bless you. I mean, those are the things that I treasure the most. Someone giving you a crumpled up dollar and say, here, sis, put that in your pocket, you know. And sometimes it could be 100 and sometimes it could be $1, but it was the fact that they wanted to give. Or somebody saying, we got a case of water in the trunk of our car. Do you want it? And just, you know, pulling it out. And people showing up with masks and gloves and gowns. We didn't ask where it came from, but we said, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And we used everything. So it was really a community win, and we were doing it without the support. But now that we have it, I mean, we can do even more.
Yeah. And that was sort of, I mean, when I interviewed you, I met you out in the counties. I think I was at Salem. Where are the churches? I can't even remember. You were at
so many. I know.
I popped into a couple of the churches, and I love that you went to the masjids. I mean, you was in it.
Yeah.
In it. And so I want you to kind of lay out the issue, because you know, we were covering this, and what did you notice to say, oh my God, like we need to change this. Our Black folks they don't have access.
Well, so that report came out the 3rd. We started testing on the 16th, in between, I was calling, trying to figure out who could do it, who could I help and get on their team, and realized there was no team. And what happened, I was doing all these Instagram lives and Facebook lives, and and I was doing it with young people, and I was educating them. There were so many myths out there that people just didn't know, and the mainstream would dismiss them as opposed to talking to them about why it may not have been true. Right. And people would call me and be like, oh, I heard you on 100.3. But my friend just tried to get tested and they turned him away. Yeah. And then I would call the friend, call the hospital. This is Dr. Stanford. You need to test him. Oh, doctor, I'm so sorry. We turned him away. And that just kept happening. I was like, well, I can't be the only Black doctor in Philadelphia advocating for all the Black patients. And that's why I said, I got to reach out to my friends. So that's how I knew that even though the city kept saying, well, we have testing sites everywhere, it was a testing site with barriers, because if you didn't have a script, if you didn't have a primary care doctor, if you were not over the age of 50, if you hadn't in the beginning traveled to China, Italy, or Germany, if you weren't a healthcare worker, if you weren't in your car, look, I ran out of fingers.
Oh my God, it's a lot. It's a lot.
You couldn't get tested. And that's what I was trying to get across to the FQHCs and the city health clinics. Like, and even just this week, if you go down Broad Street, right at Broad and Ridge, there's a big federally funded health center, and there's a big church, and there's a sign that says free COVID-19 testing. So I was excited. And then it said with appointment only, you know? So you get off work, you miss an appointment, the appointments are 12 to 3. You know, how are you going to make it during that time? And so it was so restrictive. And we had to, in essence, create barrier-free testing for our communities. And that's what we did.
Yeah. And I have to tell you, I don't think people understand the barrier issue. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, and I think it takes somebody who has this type of connection within communities to understand, because I don't think people saw, you don't have a car, you can't get tested. That's a barrier.
That's right. You know, and I apologize. I'm looking for my charger. That's on me. But, you know, somebody said, oh, you need to drive up. And someone jokingly, but wasn't jokingly, said, what am I going to drive up in? On my feet? You know, and people were taking buses and subways to get out to Montgomery County only to get turned away. I mean, it was sad. And when I asked some of my colleagues at these hospitals, why are you turning people away? They said, because we won't have a doctor to report their results back to if they don't come with a referral. And I said, that's it. So basically, every person that gets tested by me, I'm everybody's doctor. So for the almost 6,000 people, there's no issue. LabCorp created an account just for me, Stanford COVID-19. So if anybody needs to know where their results are, Dr. Stanford is the doctor responsible, and that's who they come under. So that's how we solve that problem. Yeah. Someone needed to take responsibility and take ownership of it and decide that it mattered for this group of people to get tested.
And I want everybody to tag a friend and share this video, because so you guys got the contract. And I mean, just first of all, you know, that's political will, you know, because I felt like people was going to the mayor and to the people and was like, look, you see what the Black doctors doing? Why y'all not helping them?
I know. I mean, and I'm going to use this as an opportunity, and prayerfully, I'm going to get everybody right. Daryl Clark, Cindy Bass, Kenyatta Johnson, Sherelle Parker, and Kathy Gilmore Richardson. They, and it was funny because the reporters would call me and say, do you know them? And I said, I never met him before. I met him for the first time on Tuesday. And the assumption was the way they were advocating for us, it must have been because we knew each other. Like we were, you know, we were buddies. We were hanging out at happy hour. No, we were a business, an established business that happened to be Black owned, Black founded, that were doing what needed to be done. Yeah. So they put us on the forefront to be acknowledged by the mayor and the health commissioner. So thank you. Thank you guys. Thank you.
I don't think a lot of people, so many people were happy for you all to get this. Because I remember when we did our interview, you said, look, you said to people, I would love to be able to pay, some of these folks who are giving of their time. So let's talk about, this was blood, sweat, and tears, volunteers.
Yes. And I'm right here.
Here. Plug it up, sis. Plug it up.
Forgive me. You're going to see my whole living room. Okay, hold up. Okay. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
So I have, in terms of the doctors, gastroenterologists, so the people doing your upper and lower endoscopy, anesthesiologists, the people that put you to sleep, pediatricians, family practice doctors, surgeons, critical care doctors that have full-time jobs that when they were getting off their shift or their day off, were coming to spend 6 to 8 hours with us. I mean, and it's a long day, right? Because wherever we show up, it's not like there is a building. I mean, we're basically putting a hospital in a parking lot, a triage unit in a parking lot. That takes time. Every place is different because they're not all designed the same way. So we had those folks, then nurses 20, 30 years out that working shifts 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., going home to sleep, and then coming to see us at 10 in the morning for nothing, for no money at all. And then the medical students, they weren't having class because school was out because of the pandemic, and they all showed up. So Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine, I'm putting a shout out to you guys. Those students, yes, they all showed up. And I mean, all ethnicities, Muslim, white, Black, they all showed up. And, it was time to go to Broad Knowledge because we did some pop-ups on the street. And the white students, I was like, I don't know if you've ever been to Broad Knowledge. No, we want to go. We want to go, and they were great. And the thing about that is you may not have had an experience in a Black community before. So it's also teaching these young minds that will be our future doctors about how to interact with different cultures. And so much of what we have is because it's a fear of the unknown, because you don't know us, get to know us, right? And so it's also exposing them when their minds are so fertile to interacting and respecting other cultures.
Yeah. And I have to tell you, working with the Black churches, I mean, it was, to me as a Black woman, Black journalist covering this, I was like, this is the most perfect act of self-determination. Like when Black folks couldn't get service, the Black doctors stepped up and the Black churches opened their doors. It was like, oh my God,
it was beautiful. It was so beautiful because we didn't have to ask for permission. It was so freeing. It was so liberating. There was no permit that we needed because it was the Black church. So it was like one day we were at Miller Memorial in North Philly, and then 48 hours later, I look at Marshall. Where you want to go? Where you want to go? Want to go to Enoch? Okay. Pastor Waller, can we come to? Yup, got it. That was it. And then we were at the next church, just like that. It was we had the van, we kept the supplies in, and we just kept it moving. And then more people kept signing up to volunteer. And we grew exponentially just because there was such a need and a desire to give back. I mean, and we're tired, but we have so much fun out there. We have fun. Yeah.
And I mean, and now you see, if you fast forward, everything that happened during that pandemic speeded up for what's happening now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, about testing at Belmont. Yes. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to get distracted. I don't know how you do it. Hold on one second. The dog is. Can you ask me again? Forgive me.
No problem. No, I was saying that everything that happened during the pandemic, and I'm going to read some of the questions in just a moment. So don't worry, I'm not ignoring them.
Okay.
But I wanted to ask you about, because everything kind of teed up, it teed up what's happening now. What you saw and what you stepped up to help solve during the pandemic got teed up the social unrest, the protests we're seeing right now. How do you feel about that?
You know, I actually wrote an op-ed in the Inquirer about it because I was so enraged and I didn't know what to do with the hurt and the anger. And I was crying on my keyboard as I was typing it because I felt like police brutality and coronavirus were killing Black people. And I was trying to find the association, and it both was equaling disease and death for us. Because even when you don't die from police brutality, the stress, the post-traumatic stress you have from that experience for you, for your family, it lingers, you know, for some people their entire lifetime. And then coronavirus, prayerfully, you survive it, but not everybody comes out unscathed. You may still have some irreversible effects of having had the disease. And so much of it is predicated on the historic racism and injustice in this country. And, you know, just explaining to people, well, why don't you have your own this? And why isn't healthcare better? And the best way I could explain it, to keep it plain, is that in 1911, my great-grandmother was picking cotton for your father and your great-grandfather, building your legacy, okay? So she couldn't build mine, I mean, with her pride and her strength, and I embody that, but not with capital, right? Not with a real estate or a home that she could leave us. So I feel like it's only now my generation, and maybe a little bit the generation before me, is now able to have our own businesses and our own entities that hopefully we have a torch to pass that still has a lot of gas in it to the next generation, that we can put together an infrastructure in literally 48 hours and take care of our own. And so what it means to me, the anger that I had, as I said, I put it on paper, so it'll be archived forever. But we were part of the solution. What we were doing, even with folks going out and demonstrating and being in dense populations where the virus could spread, we were like, do what you got to do and then come see us to get tested, right? And we're still doing that. We had a lot of people show up today because they said, okay, now it's been 4 days since my last protest I participated. I'd like to get tested.
Yeah.
So we were able to provide that service without a barrier.
Yeah. And I think that's what I think so many people resonated with, especially Black people, because this was one time when we didn't have to wait. And you know, when Reverend Marshall Mitchell was like, we got the resources, we got the minds, we got the location, we gonna do it ourselves. I was like,
that's right. That's right.
Because we're not used to, like you said, this generation is pretty much one of the first where we don't have to wait.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look at you. You're educating people all tuning in. We could be watching CNN or MSNBC, but we're here, right? Yeah. And a lot of people have turned off those stations. We're trying to get educated by our own, because all those White House briefings, where were the people that looked like us? And when they did look like us, they didn't sound like they were advocating for us, right? Yeah. So we started doing for ourselves in a lot of different arenas. And despite everything that's happening, that's a huge sense of pride for me to be a part of.
Yeah, I just want to shout out some of the people in the feed. Okay. Derek says, you're a real life shero. I love what they're doing. I got tested at my church. Enon, Carl says, oh, it looks like that test is invasive. I looked at it. I got to get tested too, because I've been out in them streets, but it's not that bad, right?
It's less than it was. We used to use a swab that was this long. Now it's like this long. It's the size of a Q-tip. And I tested a 7-year-old, and I told him it was like sticking your tiny finger, pulling a boogie out on both sides. And he was like, okay, doc. And he had no problem. So if the 7-year-old can do it, y'all can do it.
Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Man and lady up for this. And he says, thank you so much, Dr. Allah Stanford. I just got tested at Enon. The process was so organized. People are very, very grateful to you. And then Tamika says, yes, ownership. That's something we are lacking. Thank you so much for what you are doing. People, you like a celebrity. Do you realize that?
Stop. And I mean, and I,
because when people see that covering, they're like, they like, and I think it's,
and I mean, and I need to say this in case I don't know.
Go ahead.
Is somebody okay. Is kids to say to children, you know, I was born at Einstein. I grew up in North Philly and Germantown and Mount Airy. And my parents were young. We didn't have a lot of money. We were on public assistance. Y'all don't remember those big blocks of cheese that came in the cardboard box? We used to use food stamps. Like, we used the ER as our primary care doctor, not because we were stupid, but my mom was working from 6 in the morning to 9 o'clock at night till she got home, taking all these buses to get to work. So the only thing open was the ER, right? And I say that to say, your parents don't need to make 6 figures for you to become a doctor and have a better life than your parents or your grandparents. It's a desire for something more. It's knowing what you're good at and capturing it. And for me, I love to read. I loved a challenge. You know, one of the medical students said, "You're so good at public speaking." And when we were in 7th grade and I was at Fittler Academic Plus School on Seymour and Knox, we had oratorical contests where we would recite the I Have a Dream speech, you know, and all those things now, when you get older, it's part of your foundation. And so children, this class of 2020, I'm gonna need you to be my doctor. Okay.
Wow.
So look out. And for the kids, this is a good opportunity that just graduated in the Philadelphia school system and you're not about to go to college and you're trying to figure out what's next. Please reach out to me. We have so many entry-level positions while you figure out what you're trying to do in education, in handing out flyers to people, in crowd control and handing out masks, even contact tracing. You need a GED for that or a high school diploma. So reach out on our website. We want to take care of you. We want to help you, educate you so you can take care of me one day.
Amen. Amen. Right. And that's what it's all about, bringing everybody, letting everybody be a part of it. More comments. Dr. Alaa is a shero.
Yeah.
Sheldon says, that is amazing. Throwing up a triage in a parking lot.
That's right.
That's how you do. You did what you had to do. The human spirit is unbeatable. Community work like this can inspire.
There it is. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. And then Kenny asked about Belmont Plateau.
Yeah, I know. We got to get up there. So Saturday we are in Yaden. All right. I'll talk to my co-pilot, see what he says about the plateau. We need a good day with no rain, because that's when folks are out. But yeah, we'll be there.
You're going to get folks tested. People have been speaking truth. There's so much support here. They said, Ebony says, I knew she was amazing when she got Will Smith together for the big jump.
There it is. Yeah,
there you go. You got everybody thinking about health. And it's so, and then you also speak in such an accessible way so that everybody can understand. So how do you think, I mean, first of all, you guys got this contract. So what does that mean for Black Doctors? What does that mean for Black Doctors COVID-19?
I mean, it makes us sustainable as opposed to living from donation to donation, right? And so it allows us to, all these folks who are volunteering and they're good, if I want to maintain them, I got to pay them. You know, they can't keep giving up their time and not getting paid. So now I can afford to pay them. The van that we've been renting, that we can keep that going. We can get a couple more vans, because now that our teams know the system, we can break off. You know, somebody could be at the plateau, someone can be over at SEPTA, someone can be at a church, you know, and we have our different teams taking care of folks. Yeah. So, you know, so the city contract, it's a good first start. But again, it was, for them, it was a smart investment.
Yes.
They knew what we had done. It wasn't like we wrote a grant and said what we were thinking about doing, we had already been doing it for almost 2 months. They had all of our data. It gets reported to the state. They knew how many people we tested. They knew how many people were positive. They knew every place we went. So if the goal is to test 5,000 people per week in the city and we can handle it, then it just made sense, right? It was a wise investment. So not downplaying it. It's a good first start, and we just need to keep it moving.
Yeah. And also I think it shows that because you guys have been hitting those high risk communities, it shows that no one will be missed.
That's right. I mean, we get out there and, people email us, they call my office. Can you come to this church? Can we come to that church? And a lot of times, if we have not been to that community, we will make it out there. And especially now that we have the contracts and the positivity rate is kind of the same, but we don't know if that's really true because everyone hasn't been tested. So we're going everywhere. We're going everywhere. The shortage that existed in April is no longer the shortage. We have a plentiful supply, knock on wood, we'll keep having it. And as long as folks stay healthy, we will keep testing. We will be everywhere.
That's wonderful. And we're about to wrap up in just a couple minutes. And so what are you hoping that, when people see what you all have done, what are you hoping that does for the broader community?
People have reached out to me from New York, North Carolina, Alabama, California, Baltimore, Detroit, asking us our template. So imitation, my brother tells me, is the best form of flattery. So please imitate me, get into these Black communities. And it's not to say your city, state, or federal government won't get to it, but it takes them a lot longer than it would take us to mobilize, And at least now there's the CARES Act. So everyone, you get reimbursed for the coronavirus test. So there is no reason why we can't offer this test. And I said it yesterday and I say it again today. Every hospital, every clinic, every federally funded center needs to knock down the restrictions on testing, particularly in the next 2 weeks when we had thousands of people on the Parkway, and just open your doors. Just open your doors. Why wouldn't you? Money isn't even a reason anymore. So who cares if they don't have a script? Who cares if they don't have insurance? The federal government says they're paying for everybody to get tested. So I implore the hospitals to just put it on your website and say, we're offering free testing from 10 to 6 every day. And just let people come. Just let them come.
Yeah, because that's the only way that we can even get back to a real normal society.
That's right. So people who know they have it can stay home and let the people know who they've been around so they stop spreading it to everybody else, So that's the tool we have, because the vaccine, people, it won't help us. It might help next year, but it's not going to help us. So we got to do for ourselves. And we're trying to, with the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium, help you help yourself and the people you love.
Absolutely wonderful. A couple more comments before we wrap up. She says, Zahira Ahmad says, I salute you from a healthcare professional of 33 years. I've never, ever seen anything like this given to the people in need. It was much appreciated.
Thank you, love. Thank you.
Valerie wishes that God continues to bless you. Yes. And Dion says, can y'all come to Norristown?
Yes, we are coming to Norristown. Commissioner Ken Lawrence, we talked about that just today. I do know that the site is going to be adjacent to the courthouse, that big parking lot, and it's probably going to be on a Saturday or Sunday because we know it's hardworking people in Norristown that can't get off during the week. So we are coming. I believe in June we'll be coming, before June is up.
Wonderful, because she says that Norristown Center, they do it only by appointment. It's hard to get through. So she's high-fiving in here. She's very happy to hear what you had to say. And I think Kenny Ash put a contact for Belmont Mansion in here. This is how Philly is. Very community.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep.
All right. They want to support. Okay, I will do that.
And I'll get that to you as well.
Please do that. Yes. Oh, that's what's up. That would be fantastic, actually.
Yes, and we're going to see moves being made. Being made.
Right.
Stanford. And with that, I just want to say congratulations, because this is a big deal that, the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium got this contract, because we were hoping, because you guys deserve it for all the work you did, asking for very little. And you did it for a community that needed it at the time we needed it.
That's right. That's right.
So
I love my people. Come on, y'all.
We feel the love. We feel the love.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be an example to the entire country. You started something that I hope continues for a very long time.
Thank you, Cherri. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Philadelphia.
Yes, and y'all donate. I mean, I'm sure y'all still take donations. I don't know if y'all need them like that, but
I mean, you still have a nonprofit. Everything helps. So you give what you can, but the support is also we appreciate that a lot.
Wonderful. And where can people go to find out more information? I'll put
our brand new website. Please go visit us. It's www.BlackDoctors COVID19 Consortium. That's it.
All right.
We got the thing. We own it. We own it. So please go to our website. Yes.
Is it .com or .org?
It's all of it. .com, .org, .net, all of it.
Awesome. Y'all go check them out. Thank you so much, Dr. Allah Stanford, for coming on Real Talk with Cherri, and for all the wonderful work that you have done. I'm personally just so grateful for you stepping up in this way.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks. I'm going to log in so I can hear your next conversation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We really
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Dr. Allah Stanford, please check out Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium.com. More information on the free testing sites. They got the city contract. Cheers to them, because they were doing so much good work. And I'm so glad that they got this so that they can continue their work. So our next guest, and let me just pull up the photo of him. I met Terrence about a year ago, and I'm going to pull up the photo of this that I kind of from his what I call Freedom Day. He was exonerated about a year ago. And he was represented by a brilliant legal mind, Kevin Hardin, and a number of other lawyers. But he spent more than 2 decades behind bars for a crime he did not commit. And he fought his way out. He never gave up. And now he's a free man. I'll let him come on. Terrence Lewis is going to tell you about his story. And we're going to move this here. Terrence, how you doing? Welcome to Real Talk with Cherri.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for having me, Cherri. I appreciate that. Honestly, I was looking forward to this.
Yes, it's so good to see you. How have you been?
Likewise. I've been grateful. I've been humble, because I'm blessed. So everything's been good on my end, despite the COVID and everything else that's going on, our current state of affairs. Everything been lovely on my end. I'm real grateful.
So your 1 year anniversary of Freedom Day was May what day in May?
May 22nd.
May 20. I was going to say 21st, but the 22nd is your 1 year anniversary. What
1 year anniversary.
Celebrate that day?
Say it again.
What did you do to celebrate that day? I know you had to.
Well, yeah, actually I did. Now, mind you, it was amidst all the COVID and everything. So still with practicing social distancing, I was able to spend time with my family. I was able to spend, time with my loved ones, because I'm not gonna lie to you, this COVID-19 thing, it definitely exposed the reality of taking time for granted. So I took that time, my 1 year anniversary, and celebrated with my family and my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for people who don't know your story, tell us a bit about it.
Okay. Well, at the age of 19, I was wrongfully imprisoned for a murder which I did not do. The Philadelphia Police Department had, or they were very suggestive and coercing and withholding evidence in my particular case. And this was at the age of 17 when the crime actually occurred. So it took them about 2 years to, manufacture what they did against me. And yeah, they wrongfully imprisoned me. And it wasn't until 21 years later I was released, due to an exoneration. And I must say, and we got to give a big shout out to, Patricia Cummins and Carrie Wood and all those down at the Conviction Integrity Unit, because they were real instrumental in helping bringing about my release so that I was able to celebrate, a meaningful celebration with my family this year. So really.
Yeah. And I remember meeting you just a couple weeks after your Freedom Day.
That was you, me, Kev, yeah, and Cherri.
Into the KYW studios, you told me your story, and the 90s. The 90s was a crazy time in Philly, where a lot of stuff was happening. Could you explain, take us back to when, it was a couple years since the incident happened. They come after you. Take us back to just what your mindset was when somebody pulls up on you for something you had no clue about.
Wow. Okay. All right, sis. Yeah, I definitely remember that day like yesterday too. That right there was a traumatic experience because, mind you, I still was an adolescent. The crime happened at the age of 17. However, it took them 2 years to come get me. So at 19, I'm working this time. Never had a brush in with the law prior. And then out of nowhere, out of the blue, I was on my way to my religious service. It was a Friday. And they swarmed me. This was right in front of Overbrook High School. They literally like on some TV stuff. I really, they came SWAT. They surrounded me and they pulled me out the car. And I definitely, wow, I was definitely fortunate to not succumb to, what's happening now in regards to the police brutality. My police brutality came by way of, false imprisonment. And so that's the backdrop of, what happened with my particular case.
So how did you keep your mindset? Because you're innocent. And I've talked to a lot of people who have been exonerated. And they tell me that, being in there, because part of the counseling you get is to, accept responsibility for your actions and all these things. But when you're innocent, how do you deal with that, the kind of programs they put you in when you didn't do it?
Yeah, that right there, that was hard for me, for some time to cope. Being an innocent man, right? And falsely, imprisoned, falsely convicted, of murder, and to be able to cope with that, not having nothing to rest my hat on. Meaning, I used to see the guys, who I've come to know in there, those who, definitely have shown a great deal of rehabilitation. At one point in time, denial or not, they were able to kick their feet up and say, hey, look, I did crime, I got to do the time. How do an innocent man, wrap their head around and cope with the fact that, mind you, I had a life sentence in Pennsylvania. Life means life, so I was condemned. I was told at the age of 19 that I had to die in jail. So, walking around the track, trying to let that register, is they really for real? Are you really seriously?
Because
is this really true? Yeah, so just by knowing for a fact that they committed an error. When I say they, meaning the system, the criminal justice system, and my belief in God. I put my best foot forward. I went to the law library and I start to learn that legal jargon. I start to learn the legalese. It was a foreign language, but nonetheless, I didn't want to. I didn't want to die in jail, right? I didn't want to grow old in jail. So the chess, that was out of there for me. Playing basketball, that was out of there for me. You know, any games, you know, my whole thing was I wanted to learn how to combat the system and how to, let my voice be heard and right this wrong, since nobody else, my cries was falling on deaf ears for so long. Initially for the first 10 years, I had to litigate I had to litigate my case pro se. So yeah, that was hard, but that's what it was. It was literally just my resolve and my faith. You know, that's what I cling to with my molar teeth. And I did what I had to do. I rolled my sleeves up and I learned what needed to be learned. And it got me to the courtroom door, which in turn I was blessed with some people who genuinely who cared, the likes of David Leger, the likes of Kevin Hart and Shari Maynard, Annie Rokney.
And then it was like the doors open for you. And was there a moment that you knew, you was like, yo, I got this, and you were like, I know I'm getting out now? Was there a moment, or were you kind of like too afraid to claim it like that?
Yeah, and that came from, it was a moment where I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't own it. I didn't claim it. I'd be lying if I said anything differently. I say that because, mind you, in 2009, I went before a federal tribunal and I proved my actual innocence. Unequivocally, I had a federal judge, Judge Sandra Moore Wells, Carol Moore Wells, right? She determined, after going over all the evidence, old and new, that I was factually innocent. However, that was in 2009. I wasn't released until 10 years later. I wasn't released until 10 years later. So look at the irony of that. I finally convinced the federal judge that I was actually innocent, that, the system, they got it wrong. They messed up, right? But yet and still, I had to die in jail. So I had to go back to jail for another 10 years after having that order. So it meant nothing to me, So it wasn't until the Miller decision in 2012, right? When because mind you, I was coined a juvenile lifer. We're the only country that has that terminology, that term, juvenile lifer. So I was a juvenile lifer. So fortunately for me, my case was being reheard again, but through a different set of lenses. So when I went to state court for my resentencing as a juvenile, Judge Barbara McDermott, she reviewed the order from Judge Wells and say, hey, look, I got a judge, just 10 years ago said that this isn't right. What are we doing here? So, her attitude, and I commend her for it as well, what sentence will be an appropriate sentence to give to an innocent man? The answer is none. So she did the honorable thing. And like I said, with the help and the not so much the influence, the cooperation of the Conviction Integrity Unit, my juvenile sentencing rehearing turned into what is supposed to have been altogether an exoneration hearing. So that's how that came about.
And I got to point out a fact here, because a lot of people, specifically, quote, juvenile lifers, who are innocent, were given a choice in some regard to cling onto the innocence or to accept responsibility and get out early because of the Miller case. But Judge McDermott did not make you do that.
No, she didn't make me do that. It was blatant. It was clear. It was clear as it was clear that the evidence that she seen and that we put forth, it highlighted the fact that the system had got it wrong. The criminal justice system had imprisoned an innocent man.
Yeah. And so it's a beautiful thing. I mean, I don't typically cover people going to prison. Instead, I cover when people get out. People were joking, Cherri's like the jailbreak reporter. Anytime somebody break out, she's there. And the reason is because people think that the system is foolproof. But what we found is that 2 to 8% of people did not commit the crimes that they're serving time for.
Exactly.
Did you have any idea that it was that many people before you went in, while you were in, and then now that you're out? Did your perspective change on how wrong the system could be at times.
Yeah, it did. Me going to me going to prison, right, for a crime that I didn't commit. It woke me up. It woke me up that our system is indeed flawed. I come from a military family. Almost every male and almost female in my family, joined the service, right? So I was inculcated, with that. I was inculcated that with the principles that the government, will get it right, or that, the way the system is set up is designed to do what, it's supposed to do. And come to find out, looking at it from a different angle, right, different dynamic, that's the case as well too, right? So when I went in there, like I said, it took it falling on my doorstep for me to realize how gross and egregious things are, and the individuals, the participants, the pullers, that uphold the criminal justice system, just how foul it is. I had individuals that I met personally, and this is the whole purpose of me coming out and hitting the ground running, that I met personally, that the claims of actual innocence, they are beyond plausible. It's highly probable, and they're not being heard. Some individuals got 5th grade reading levels, and they can't articulate themselves, with litigation to get to someone like David Leger or Kevin Hart, and ones who I were able to get to, so there are many.
Yeah,
that's sad to say. And what breaks my heart is, and this is what troubles me, I fear that despite all the good that the Conviction Integrity Unit is doing, the Defenders Association is doing, the Innocent Project, as well as what the Liberation Foundation will be doing, it's not going to be enough time to save those who are actually innocent may in fact have to die in jail. That's just how gross this thing is, and that's reality.
And we're going to talk in just a second about your new initiative, but when you see the protests, Terrence, I mean, you gotta tell me your reaction, because I know you probably could. You even watch that video of George Floyd?
Wow. To be honest, I watched the video. But it literally made me sick to my stomach, and it metaphorically killed me. And I say that because that he murdered George Floyd. He murdered him in cold blood. He sat there for 8-9 minutes and killed him publicly. He killed him publicly. So by him doing that, right, I'm not even going to acknowledge his name, murderer. By him killing that innocent man, it's as if he killed the whole society of mankind. That's why my belief also is the opposite of that. That's why I'm so passionate about trying to save at least one life, even if it's only one life. It's as if you save, the life of the whole humanity. So back to your question, there's no other way to say it. And my stance towards that is, we are obligated, we are mandated, male, female, black and white, old and young, to call it exactly what it was. That was murder.
Yeah.
And the results was what the results was because of such.
Now, this entire protest system that we've seen all across the country, Terrence, Black people, white people, brown people, all people, races, colors, ages, coming together, calling for, an end to police brutality, a reform of policing in America, to end of racism. As someone who was basically railroaded in a system that people now finally are seeing is very racist. Are your reaction to people coming together to squash this, to kill this?
What's my reaction to it? I'm delighted. I'm exceedingly happy. And the reason why, you said earlier in the show, you asked me, take us back to the 90s, how the 90s was. The 90s, we dropped the ball. I say we as my generation, generation that we dropped the ball. We didn't have that, solidarity with that camaraderie. We didn't have it. Not like how this generation here, This generation has it. This is why I'm actually humble and grateful that I have the pillars in place of the Liberation Foundation. It's this generation that's going to spark the change and break the status quo in this nation right here. Not just the state, not just our city, but the nation. If not the world.
Yeah.
This generation.
Yeah, and I'm putting that in quotes because that is I had somebody, and
true story.
I'll tell you this. I had a young person tell me, and it made me cry, Terrence. I'm going to tell you straight up, it made me cry. Young 17-year-old said, y'all been Martin Luther King in it for how long? And
wow.
they're still killing us. Someone said that to me. We going to do it different. And I cried because I was just like, and I thought to myself, did we drop the ball? Because we in the same generation, brother. We in the same generation. Sure. And I said, oh my God, did we not do enough? And then it said to me, because, and I got to ask you this question, which I've been asking everybody, do you think all this change would have been shifting like this if folk didn't act a fool for 2 days across this country, looting and acting, just burning stuff? Do you think that we would see this swift action if everybody was peaceful?
Good question. No, from on the outside looking in, right? I truly believe that it took the rage and the hurt and the pain and the fed upness in regards to not no longer tolerating the oppression and the injustice upon injustice. I gotta say that just this generation was more conscious and more courageous enough to do what was needed to have us all come together instead of like what you said, what made you cry. And that's sad that he said that, because I heard somebody say, I'm tired of kumbaya in it. I said, wow. Said that's what your generation did. Not the 60s, not the Panthers, but your generation, you keep talking, and talk is cheap. And these are priceless. So they, I can show you better than, we can tell you type thing. And around the world, I mean, specifically, you got people in Uganda, no white saviors. You got people around the world spoke out against this, as they should. And whoever didn't speak out and say anything about that killing that they literally witnessed with their own 2 eyes, their own truthful eyes, hopefully, then yeah, they're part of the problem and not the solution.
Yeah, the silence is violence situation. And so I'm gonna, I just had to ask you about that, brother. I was like, because I know you've been through. Did you? Because I mean, the rate, and I just want to point out, are you angry? Because you got 1 year, and I know you might feel differently now than you did the day you walked out.
No, I'm not angry. It goes against, my ideology and my belief, to harbor anger. I'm fed up. I'm tired. I'm not blind. I'm conscious. I'm woke, as what, this generation say, right? And, and I'm gonna stay woke. And this is the whole thing of me starting the Liberation Foundation, is to galvanize, the people, man, this generation that I speak of. And I got to give a shout out to my UPenn students as well as the Temple students specifically, and I hope I don't miss no name, Carlson, Jessica, Sarah, Kiera, Olivia. These individuals, like I said, they are geniuses. They are geniuses, and we came together, and we're launching an initiative to go ahead to help eradicate or dismantle the injustices that's occurring in our criminal justice system. I'm talking about in real time too, in a meaningful and effective way. And that's what it's all about too: mobilizing, strategizing, having a plan, and executing it. So nothing don't be in vain. Nothing should be in vain. That's why I have wasted no time in doing what I feel as though I'm mandated to do. Yeah. And all hands got to be on deck. And I thank you too. I thank you for doing the work that you do, because if it wasn't for your journalism, we wouldn't see, the people wouldn't have seen, so it takes a village, right?
It does. We all, when I was in law school, and one of the things that our professor said, your job is to be the minds and not the bodies of the movement. Like, everybody has to have their own individual role. And I love that the
Exactly.
Inspiration Foundation, you found a role for yourself in this.
Absolutely. See, one thing I learned and I try to implement and act upon, I only want to speak on what I know, so not what I think, but what I'm certain of. So one thing for sure, that I can honestly say, that I do know how to litigate. I do have an eye, and a passion, to be able to distinguish, right from wrong, and having and knowing that there are innocent men and women that's rotting away in jail for a crime that they did not commit, and not be able to get that legal representation that they need. For me, morally speaking, and I'm not talking from a legal aspect, because I haven't graduated from any Ivy League school, right? Morally speaking, like, I'm mandated to do something about it. So this is why I have, successfully set up the Liberation Foundation. Those who are near and dear to it, the pullers of it, they, as a term of endearment, they call it the Terrence Lewis Liberation Foundation. But we all know that it doesn't stop at my liberation. Like I said, also the men and women who are rotting away in jail because there's not enough manpower, there's not enough resources at the Conviction Integrity Unit for them to clear the cases at a rapid pace, which they're already doing. Likewise with the Innocent Project, likewise with the Defenders Association, likewise with those who do step up to the plate and help out and contribute, as far as pro bono law firms.
Yeah.
Still need more, still need help. So that's why I took it upon myself to launch an initiative called Project Rick, which is an acronym for Research, Investigate, and Compile. And we're going to, when I say we, meaning the students from UPenn as well as Temple. And I wanted to galvanize, this generation, Swarthmore, whatever, have like something like a hub there of the Liberation Foundation, and all hands on deck, and developing a strong case, presenting it to the appropriate authorities so that we can get these men and women home.
Yes. And it's because that's a lot of the work. And I'm putting this up here right now because Project Rick will research, investigate, and compile, because these cases are hard. It's
yes,
hard.
They are.
I just want to point out, because I mentioned a statistic that a lot of people say, what? 2 to 8% of cases have wrongful conviction. But what people don't even realize is that there are many more people who are serving shorter sentences that never get a chance to prove their innocence. So I've met people who've been innocent of robberies and they did 8 years or something, but they were out before, because you did 21 years. So it took 21 years for you to get freedom. So there's people who did shorter sentences, and they didn't get the attention of a Conviction Integrity Unit, because it could take, you were fighting for your freedom for over a decade before you got
it. And that's the sad reality. It can in fact take that long. That's why there was no time to waste. There was no time to extend my celebratory, transition and me coming home. There was no time to waste.
Yeah.
I seen that. Let me just give an example. The Conviction Integrity Unit, they are responsible, meaning they have been real instrumental in bringing about 13 exonerations. They've been active for the past 2 years. I made number 6, and I've been home a year. So that means 7 came after me. In 2 years, 13 exonerees. Likewise with the Innocent Project, they are responsible, I believe, for within 10 years, 16 exonerees. However, there are over 800 submissions that have been submitted to the Conviction Integrity Unit alone. The individuals who do not have representation, those who are pro se litigants and can't read past the 5th grade reading level. So if It's not, if it don't be for the Liberation Foundation and likes thereof and helping with the manpower, then the reality is that these individuals got to die or best grow old in jail. And that's something that I can't swallow. That's something that I can't live with. I guess you can call it survivor's guilt or whatever the case. But morally speaking, this work is God's work, and it has to be done, right?
Yeah. And I told you before, personally, and I'll say it publicly, I mean, you're a very articulate man. And I do think that it's difficult. These are difficult things to explain, even when you are a legal mind arguing, you got a law degree. I mean, you probably got an honorary law degree somewhere. I'm not even, because this is difficult.
Shout out to Chestnut Hill.
Yeah.
Shout out to Chestnut Hill. Yeah.
Look, and I've interviewed a lot of people. These are difficult concepts to understand, let alone explain in a way that masses can understand. But you do an excellent job doing that, and so I commend you for fighting for your own freedom. And a pro se, that is not easy, and sticking with it. And I'm just, I'm glad that you were able to get excellent legal help the way that you did. Let me just give you some of the comments before we wrap up. Delilah says, too many cases like this, but God, right? People said, gave you exonerated, high five, Terrence Lewis saying your name with heart. This is powerful, your story. That's what they're referring to. Bless your resolve and faith. Look at God. Won't he do it? Yes, he will. People are just shocked by your story. It's so amazing. Peace, Terrence. Stay up, bro, and make them pay. That's what he says. It's very wild and disgusting what happened. Dion says it's very disheartening to hear that he had to endure such for the lengthy amount of time. However, very inspiring how he utilized that time to self-educate and can articulate his experience as well as he is. I'm telling you.
Wow.
To be able to be in the mindset to be able to explain it in this way is very, very powerful. And Derek says sometimes Black folks have short-term memory loss, so we have to keep applying pressure. Yes. And then Janice Armstrong says, yes, it is God's work. So the Liberation Foundation, Terrence, this is part of the purpose in which you will now walk. How can people support you? He's official, y'all. Got the 501c3. Like, he's out here, playing. And so how can people support you?
Well, they can support me by if they have the ability to help us initiate the actual RIC, that'd be cool. They can sign and join. The website is up. Terrence Lewis Liberation Foundation, likewise the Liberation Foundation, Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. We definitely can use the funding, because the reality is, most of this work, this is boots on the ground, and we need investigators. I have been fortunate enough to have 2 attorneys that has supported the Liberation Foundation, as likewise with allocating their time as far as the PIs. But that's what we need. We need funding, and that's going to happen, and that's going to come. But yeah, to believe in this work and support us.
Yeah, so they could donate money or time helping with the investigation.
Well, like I said, let me say, if they have the ability, right, to understand.
You're like, don't just come down there with no skills.
Yeah, no, they can support from the sideline, because like we definitely could use all hands on deck, period, in regards to just, supporting us in spirit, because the reality is, like what everybody said, everybody praise God. This is God's work. This is something that's needed. This is a necessity. So yeah, with or without, we got to move forward, and I'm gonna continue to full steam ahead. People are sitting idle, and especially too, I lost a few friends due to COVID inside. There's no way to social distance. What we had out here, which was very limited, we don't know much, about, this bacteria, this virus. And there, I lost a lot of individuals. Excuse me, not a lot. I lost 3 individuals that I know personally, whether they did the crime or not. But I don't think the sentence what they initially had should have turned into a death sentence. Yeah,
and that's real. So with that, I want to say I put up here the Terrence Lewis Liberation Foundation website. Go search it out. You can donate time if you want to. You have investigation skills. They're looking for some investigators, but you guys help them launch this program because it is difficult getting out of this web called our criminal justice system. If you are innocent, it takes years. Terrence fought for his freedom for well over a decade. I mean, even after you were found innocent, factually innocent, it took another decade for you to get your freedom. So I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
That you are doing your thing. Hopefully, you know, you'll receive at some point some type of compensation for this. Because
thank you for that compensation petition too that you helped me. Remember a year ago, that was the first thing that, you know, I had put in place was a compensation petition seeking a compensation bill. And the reason why I had to say something real quick about that is because after your interview about the compensation petition that I launched, a friend of mine, Colin Miller, who serial undisclosed, who covered my case and helped bring it to the forefront. He reached out to Chris Rep Rad, and now we have a compensation bill that's needs to be tweaked and revised. But we got one in the making. We have a state rep that authored one, and now is about to go ahead and hopefully become policy legislation in Pennsylvania because there is none. Likewise with the expungement bill. You know, we need an expungement bill. Look at the reality of that, Cherri. I come home, you know, as an innocent man, right, as I should, but yet and still, I still have a felony on my record. And if it wasn't for my attorneys, you know, that I have, Kevin Hart, and, you know, to have my back, individuals don't have money to pay for that. They shouldn't have to. So I've been I've been supporting those two separate bills. HB 440, which is the expungement bill, and likewise this compensation bill. So how people can support, that's specifically how they can support the Liberation Foundation in regards to voting for a compensation bill for those who are wrongfully convicted.
Yeah, and just so
we need that in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and for you guys, everybody always says to me, "Oh, I know they're gonna get paid. You know, they did this, da, 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 da." But that's not, they have to sue. And there's no guarantees. But there are many states, I believe over 35 states, where you get automatically compensated per legislation. We do not have that in Pennsylvania. They do have it in New Jersey. So it's kind of crazy how if you lived across the bridge, it would be a totally different situation. And I don't know if there's ever enough money to compensate you for taking this type of time from your life. But at the very least, you deserve to get started in life. Because you lost a lot of time that you would have been, I mean, you probably would have had a law degree, an LLM by now with the mind that you had. You know what I'm saying? Like if you had been allowed to do that. Yeah.
True story. I agree. I know the sky would have been the limit, perhaps.
You still young, brother. So you got time to get it all done.
Thank you.
You know, and congratulations on starting the Liberation Foundation. And congratulations on celebrating 1 year of freedom. And I'm so glad you on this side, you know?
Absolutely. I'm grateful and I appreciate that too. Thank you.
Yes. And with that, I want to say thank you, Terrence Lewis. I'm so proud of you. And thank you for being a voice because I know there's a lot of people out here who can't share their story and are unable to speak for themselves, but you're speaking for all of them.
No, absolutely. And to add to that, you are correct. There are a lot of exonerees who they suffer from PTSD. You know, we come from an environment that's completely hostile, and we've been in that environment for years. So to come home, you know, and you know, be shell shocked. You know, the world has changed, and like I said, all that which they had to, you know, endure emotionally and psychologically. So yeah, I agree with you. Everybody do not have the ability at this moment and the resolve to speak the truth and tell what they witnessed with their truthful eyes.
Yeah, and I do apologize for any trauma that I may have caused you to relive these moments. You know what I mean?
No, this is therapeutic for me. It's opposite for me. It's opposite for me. I promise you. It's actually therapeutic for me. You know, I want to speak the truth, even if it's against myself. I want to, like I said, I don't want my 21 years to be in vain. Although I served my country, I had served my country the wrong way, the long way, which was the wrong way. Nonetheless, I want my experience to be a testimony. I want it to be, inspiration, for those who do feel like, giving up. Like,
Yeah.
you can't, and we not, and we shouldn't.
And you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zahira said you're a lawyer on the rise. Timothy says that Terrence is a hero. Rashida gave you the
shout out to Timothy, film producer, my friend. Yeah, wow.
PTS
Film director.
Yes, it's real. So I'm gonna leave the Terrence is a hero one up. Thank you for speaking out, and thank you for being on Real Talk with Cherri and for sharing your story and your journey with us.
Thank you for having me, and I definitely wouldn't have missed this for the world. Not at all. I know for a fact you'll allow me to speak the truth. Thank you for giving me this platform too. I appreciate you, all the good work that you do. You courageous. You are. Thank you.
I love it. Thank you so much, Terrence. And this has been Terrence. Right. Check out the Liberation Foundation. Google Terrence Lewis Liberation Foundation and support this brother. Thank you so much. Have a good
Thank you. You have a rest of a good evening. Thank you all.
Right. Bye. Y'all, that was Terrence Lewis, exoneree, celebrated 1 year of freedom on May 22nd. God is good. So I just want to say he's a hero. I'm leaving this up here because he truly is. And, I want to say thank you all for tuning in. We have a wonderful show scheduled for Monday, Money Monday. So for all the small business owners out there, we'll be talking to you. We'll be talking about the $225 million that's coming down from Pennsylvania. I'll have the details on how to access that on Monday at 8 p.m. So with that, I want to say thank you guys. Shout out to Dr. Allah Stanford for being on Real Talk with Cherri. And congratulations to the Black Doctors COVID19 Consortium. Yes. I'm so proud of them. Thank you so much to Terrence Lewis. He's the founder of the Terrence Lewis Liberation Foundation. Please Google that and support him. And I am Cherri Gregg. This has been Real Talk with Cherri. It streams live every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 8 p.m. Guys, thank you so much for your support. Please tag a friend, share this video. We want these stories to be told, real stories about real people making a difference. Thank you guys so much and have a wonderful night. Bye.